Okay, welcome to our third premiere, which is a combination of the introduction to meditation and the introduction to your internal map of reality. Now, we're running these premieres, and then on Wednesdays at 6 p.m. Eastern, and then on Sundays. Last Sunday we had our first live sort of Q&A and preview. And I apologize for the lag and the delay. I made a little boo-boo when I started the stream. But we'll be holding those next Sunday, 3 p.m. Eastern, middle of the afternoon. Hopefully that's a good time. And it's just a quick, maybe hour little discussion and opportunity for me to get feedback from you. So tonight, what we will be doing, we'll be going along with the 1-minute meditation, which will follow immediately after this. And then we'll continue with the Introduction to Meditation, Session 4, Part 1 of the left-right brain balance. And not only what is important about balancing your left and right brain, but ways of doing it. And so that's the first part of that. Then following the left-right brain balance segment, we'll be doing a guided meditation. I introduced it last week, which is walking through your body. And we'll be doing it again, and that will follow immediately the session 4, part 1. Now, after that, we'll just go directly into the Internal Map of Reality course, and we'll be looking at beliefs in terms of your worldview, how your beliefs structure your worldview. And that is Session 3, Part 3 of your belief system. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with a bonus topic. And tonight's bonus topic will be do-it-yourself wellness. What does it take and how do you do it? And do you have to do anything special about it? So I will leave that like that and just introduce the 1-minute meditation. As before, what you will be doing is sitting quietly. Now, if you just want to sit quietly for the 1 minute, that's fine. But if you want to practice the detachment, what you will do is focus on a spot in front of you, something that doesn't have any particular meaning, like a spot on the wall or on the table in front of you. Or with your eyes closed, just focus on the little lights you'll see. It's an artifact from your optic nerve. When you close your eyes, you'll see a little light. Probably. If you do, just focus on that. And if you don't see a little artifact, little light when you close your eyes, look for it. And in either of those cases, with your eyes open or closed, if you get distracted by any kind of thought from the past, the present, or the future, just acknowledge it and very gently depart from that, knowing that you can come back to it later if you want, and go back to focusing on the spot on the wall or whatever you were looking at with your eyes open, or the fuzzy dot, as I call it, with your eyes closed. Okay, so we'll be going into the meditation now. And hello and welcome to Introduction to Meditation, Session 4, Part 1 of the Left-Right Brain Balance. We'll be going into this and looking at what we think of when we think of being balanced. And so let's just go over the laptop and take a look here now. What we've done so far, we've had session 1 where we looked at a comparison between Western and Eastern approaches to meditation. And then in session 2, we dug deeper into a Western analysis and how Western science has really been following along with a lot of the Eastern approaches that really just basically put different words around the similar concepts. And in session 3, we went into the relaxation response, and hopefully you found that interesting in that it's not a matter of just relaxing one nervous system, but we have two nervous systems to work with, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. So now we're going to go on to session 4, and we're going to look at left-right balance. And again, we're going to find that, well, we have not just one brain, but we have two. Okay, so what will we be doing? We're going to do a little review, and then we'll do a guided meditation, which will be at the end of this short presentation. Then in the brain balance, we're going to look at physical balancing of the body, of the brain, the energy balance of the brain, and then the spiritual balance. And I've been talking about the three-body approach, the physical, energy, and spirit bodies. So this will continue along that theme. And then finally, we'll wrap it up with more information and going deeper into detachment meditation. And hopefully by now, some of you, if not all of you, are doing longer meditations than our 1-minute warm-up meditation. So just to review again, we have our resources, which all of you should be familiar with now. We have our weekly sessions, which are at 6 o'clock, not at 11 a.m. And then for those of you who want to go to Facebook, you can go to our Nova Scotia Tai Chi and meditation site, and there's people there, there's more contacts, and hopefully we can get more information flowing through there. It's just easier to access going to Facebook since most of us are already on it. And then for those who wish to dig deeper into understanding the internal map of reality and how to apply these meditative skills in a day-to-day useful manner, there is the Patreon group, $5 a day intro level, $10 a month study group, and then the $20 a month, those that really want to learn how to implement this stuff and perhaps even teach it. So when we were talking about the relaxation response, just to do a quick little recap, we looked at sort of three main areas. One is that there's something called the hypothalamus, the midbrain, that basically it looks after balancing the body, and it is responsible for maintaining the autonomic nervous system. Now, we did find also, for those in the internal map reality, that using our knowledge of the internal map, we can access the hypothalamus indirectly and help to regulate and stimulate self-regulation. The two nervous systems under the autonomic label are the sympathetic, which is the rapid response, fight or flight response, and then the parasympathetic, which is the relaxation response. The two have to be balanced. Then we looked at the two energies, yin and yang, and the Eastern approach of balancing the yin and yang energies. And what we found out is that there were 5 possible states that the yin and yang could be in. And one of the things in working with the Eastern acupuncture or acupressure approach is that when you look at any condition, the lack of yin could also be confused with excess yang. And similarly, the depletion of yang energy could be confused with excess yin. So just knowing that. Okay, so the yin and yang energy was presented to you the whole idea of meridians, and I do encourage you to research this more if you haven't already. One aspect of this that you can use food to balance the body. So knowing what foods are more yin and what foods are more yang, you can prepare a balanced meal such that, I remember once I was traveling, and when you travel, you do get quite exhausted. I was traveling for a 2 or 3 week period in the mid-states. And this area I was in, I asked people, where can I go to eat? And they directed me to this Chinese restaurant. And I ended up going there every night because every time I ate a meal, when I left the restaurant, I didn't necessarily feel excessively full, but I felt balanced. And I kept going back, and I got to know some of the people in the restaurant. And apparently the chef was either a Taoist monk or had lots of knowledge in balancing food. So the food really was quite an experience, and I think of it to this day. Okay, so in this session, what we'll be talking about? Well, we'll be talking about the cerebral hemispheres, the 2 hemispheres of the brain, and that there's a connection between them called the corpus callosum. So we'll be talking about that. We'll be talking about Qigong meditation, which is a movement kind of like Tai Chi to help, and it's designed to Qi meaning energy, Gong meaning work, to move the energy through the body. The full brain movement, you can look that up. It is a kind of a way of expressing the Tai Chi, Qigong, or yoga, how to involve the whole brain when you move. And then we'll talk about neural pathways and something, the cybernetic loop, and I had mentioned that in the previous session. Okay, but before we go further, I had mentioned something called the 4 enemies or the 4 allies. And in our last session, I told you that the first enemy that would stop us on our journey of learning was fear. If you become fearful, it will tend to make you freeze in your tracks and you won't go any further. However, fear could become an ally, and that fear could tell you when to become more alert and when actually fear means you have to research more. Well, there's a second one to this enemy or ally, and that one is knowledge. Yes, knowledge. Knowledge can stop you in your tracks. Those people who think they know it already will no longer search for more information. So having knowledge can be a deception. You will think that, I no longer need to research. I no longer need to listen to anybody else because I know. And one of the hardest things I've had in working with people with meditation and Tai Chi is working with people who think they know it already. The ideal is that you want to be always seeking knowledge to be able to share it and gain it from others. So knowledge can be your ally in the sense that it can propel you to seek knowledge, to always be looking for knowledge. As an enemy, knowledge will tell you you no longer need to look. Okay, well, the guided meditation that we have been doing is the color meditation, but at the last session I introduced the walking through the body, and I think we'll continue with that today, and we'll do another walking through the body session, and I'd like you to be able to do these little guided meditations for yourself. If you don't already have the link to the recorded sessions, I will make those available. Okay, so let's look at a brief definition of the brain. This is a more medical definition from Webster. Merriam-Webster. It is a portion of the vertebrate central nervous system enclosed in the skull and continuous with the spinal cord through the foramen magnum that is composed of neurons and supporting the nutritive structure gala, and integrates sensory information from inside and outside the body in controlling autonomic functions as in heartbeat and respiration, in coordinating and directing correlated motor responses, and in the process of learning. Well, it doesn't really tell you what the brain is, does it? Well, here's another look at it. The brain is a mental and emotional steadiness. This is for balance, that is. So mental and emotional steadiness. And there's an expression, quote here. I doubt that Thoreau would be thrown off balance by the fantastic sights and sounds of the 20th century. E.B. White. So we saw an earlier definition of the brain, and it's a mechanical thing. Here's a definition of brain balance, but notice that brain balance isn't mechanical. It's emotional. It's mental. So balancing the brain, even though the brain is considered under medical definitions a physical thing, balancing it is considered an emotional thing. So let's look at the brain here. So we have two. As I said, we have two brains, a left hemisphere and a right. And in between it, there's something called a corpus callosum. And it is what I call the fiber optic link between the two brains. All information goes between the two brains through this neural plex. Now notice here that there's a switch over, that the left hand, right, is really perceived on the right hemisphere, and the right hand is really perceived on the left hemisphere. Same thing with the eyes. The eye on the left goes over to the right, and the eye on the right goes over to the left. Now there is some safety precautions here that in case of the eyes, some of the information from the eyes is sent to both hemispheres. So there is a thing where a person will only be blind on one side of one eye, because even though the eye was damaged, the nerves going to the other hemisphere were kept in shape. What I want you to notice here is that there seem to be mapped out areas of the brain that are fairly specific and well known. And there is this mapping. So let's play with this mapping a bit. So what I'd like you to do right now while you're sitting watching this is cross your arms like the person in the slide. Okay? Cross your arms, and you'll notice that one hand is tucked under and one hand is up. So what I'd like you to do now, with the hand that is facing out, be it the left or right, I'd like you to reverse this and put the other hand on top. So you see in this picture, the person's right arm is on top. Find out whatever arm you have and reverse it. Now, if you are trying to do this right now, you might find it a little bit difficult. You might find that you are used to putting the arms in a specific location, in a specific alignment, but when you go to change it, it becomes quite difficult. And the reason for this is that the left and right brain have to coordinate to do this, because you're crossing hemispheres here. So if you've gotten used to having the right hand on tucking under, then that's the way you'll tend to do it. If you're used to having the left hand tucking under, that's what you do. So the other thing I'd like you to notice here, when you try to switch it, hopefully you're doing this now, that you'll feel a certain disorientation, that when you actually do manage to get the hands reversed, that it doesn't feel right. It feels weird. And even trying to do it may make you feel a little disoriented. Let's try another one. Cross your hands like in the picture so you have one thumb above the other. Notice which thumb is on top. Now what I'd like you to do is reverse it so that the other thumb is on top. Okay, do that now. And two things I'd like you to notice here is, one, the level of difficulty it was in changing orientations. And two, again, I want you to really get a sense that when you switch this orientation, there's a sense, an uncomfortable feeling. It doesn't have that natural, comfortable feeling. So this is shown in the brain. So when you look at the brain, you see here on the left side, you see a picture what is labeled as a normal brain. And you see the coloring is pretty much all yellow with some blue and the red, a few specks of red. The brighter the color, the more blood flow. So this is a person under normal. This is not a person under meditation. However, on the right, when you look at the person who is having an anxiety panic, and they have been classified as having a disorder, notice that the amount of red is significantly increased and the amount of activity. Now, if we had a computer or scanner here, and when you switched your arm positions, you would probably have seen a similar kind of thing, that when your arm was crossed in a comfortable position, it would probably look more like the normal left side picture. But when you went to switch and change from your normal position, either being the arms or the hands, you would see the brain would issue more blood trying to resolve the situation and would produce some anxiety. So this is captured in a high resolution scanner. Here's some more pictures of high resolution scanners. The top row are brains that are considered to be normal. Notice that the blood flow is really calm. Areas of yellow and a little bit of red, each of these. But then a brain with Alzheimer's, notice that there is a lot more activity and a lot more red. And you see one there in the bottom right, it has identified plaques. What this means is that for a person suffering from Alzheimer's, the brain is actually working harder. They are constantly trying to resolve because the normal is no longer normal. So, as with the previous slide, when someone was under anxiety, you saw the increased blood flow. So this tells me, and again, I'm not a neurologist, so this is just my conclusion here. And from working with people with Alzheimer's, they struggle. They have this uncomfortable feeling. So when you ask them to remember something or do something, when they are trying to get back to that normal state, it is an effort. It's a struggle. Thus, you see the increase in the blood flow. So here's another scan. And this is comparing two people. Both have serious pain conditions. One person is just resting, staying still. And you can see in the left-hand picture that golden nugget there represents their pain. Then in the right hand, where the person did meditation, the pain was reduced significantly. So this is just illustrating that pain can be managed through meditation. Okay, so that ends part 1. So we will continue on with part 2 of session 4 in our next session. I'd like to thank you for joining me, and if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact me by email. Okay, so now it's time for the guided meditation, and this one is called Your Body, or Walking Through Your Body. All you need to do is just sit quietly with your eyes open or closed and just following along with the instructions that follow. And enjoy. Okay, we're going to do a guided meditation. So just sit comfortably in your chair, let your eyes close, and just listen to my voice. We're going to walk through your body. I'm going to mention a part of your body, and what I'd like you to do is just take your awareness there. Don't do anything, just go there in your mind and observe that part of your body. I'm going to start with your feet. Take your awareness to your feet, the soles of your feet, your toes, your ankles, tops of your feet, and even inside your foot. Take all your awareness to your feet. Still not moving or doing anything, take your awareness in both legs from your ankles to your knees. Just move your mind's eye and focus in on the area from your ankles to your knees. Calves, shin, skin. Okay, good. Now we're going to move your attention from your knees in both legs to your hips. From your knees to your hips. Become totally aware of that area. We're going to keep moving our attention now from your hips to your ribs, your stomach area, your lower back, your sides, the whole abdominal area, from your hips to your ribs. You might be aware of your stomach moving in and out as you breathe. But again, just take your attention there. Now we'll move up to your rib cage, from your diaphragm up to your shoulders, your sides of your ribs, your chest, your upper back. And again, you might be aware of your lungs, you might be aware of your heart. Just become totally aware of that area. And again, without changing anything, we're just moving your attention, move to your hands. Become totally aware of your palms of your hands, your fingers, tops of your hands, the sides. Good. We're going to move now from your wrists to your elbows. Just your attention. Leave everything else the way it is. From your wrists to your elbows. Again, in both arms, we're going to move now and focus in on the area from your elbows to your shoulders. Just the area from your elbows to your shoulders. Let your attention now go to your shoulders, between your shoulder and your neck. Along your neck to the front of your neck, and the back of your neck, and the sides. Your attention now goes up to your chin and the cheeks, and around your mouth, and then around your nose and eyes, and your forehead and your eyebrows. Let your attention now move around to the sides of your head, to your temples, and down to your ears, and around to the back of your head. Your attention now goes up to the very top of your head, right to the very crown of your head. Just focus on the very top of your head. Now, to end this little meditation, what I'd like you to do is to focus on your entire body, all together from your toes right to the top of your head, to the tips of your fingers. Your body all in one piece, comfortably sitting there. And at any time you feel like it, you can just let your eyes gently open. Part 3 of the Internal Map of Reality. And today we'll be continuing on with beliefs and specifically looking at beliefs about your world. Okay, so let's go over to my laptop. And we have beliefs, and perhaps I think the biggest array of beliefs that we have is from our early childhood. And sometimes this is called the inner child. There's lots of great material out there. Bradshaw did a whole series on the inner child, and that would definitely be a worthwhile way of spending a weekend watching his videos on the importance of coming to terms with your inner child. What's some of the issues with the inner child? Well, the fact that you had a very, very rudimentary understanding of the world. And in fact, some of these early childhood experiences, you may not even have had full language, and you may not have understood what things meant in the outside world. So when you're looking at frames from your really early years, particularly like before you were even a toddler, the frames and the memories that you get may be kind of difficult to interpret because they won't come, because they weren't developed by an adult. So we'll be talking about this, and particularly we'll be talking about frames that are associated with root cause events that you had as a child that shaped your development or lack of development. So people talk about arrested development. If there was an experience that you had in your early childhood, it might stop your development. Well, going back magically and correcting or adjusting the frames, because you can't change the events, but you can change the memory of them. You can ground and clean up your timeline of these root cause events. These events don't all have to be negative. Some of them are very, very powerful. Some of these root cause events make you into who you are today and give you a sense of self and maybe as a source of your power. So just as a little bit of observation here is that when you're looking at your frames from the past and looking on at the present and the future, don't change the frames just to change them. Don't become a busybody like a bull in the china shop. Be respectful for all your memories and assume first that a frame is there for a reason, and you leave it alone. You just want to understand it. It's only when you begin to understand that the frame is unresourceful and it needs to be enhanced that you make changes. So as we're progressing with this course, learn to be the silent, neutral observer, observe the frames, and only change things in your internal map that you feel need to be changed. Let's not be bulls in china shops. So these frames can develop into beliefs. And so what we really want to be able to do is have all of our beliefs in our map to be resourceful and powerful. Now, that's going to take a lot of work, but it's not that difficult, because if you meditate and pay attention to how you feel during the day, moment to moment, and you become aware of when you don't feel good, when you become aware of when you're having some kind of pain, either physical, emotional, energetic, or spiritual, when you're having pain, it quite likely is the result of a frame, of a desire that produced a belief about the world. Okay? So understanding if you have inner desires that are what I call away from. So if you have, because of past trauma, desires that are avoidance, right, that you can't accept. Okay, so these are easy to find, but they're not necessarily easy to work with. So we're not going to start with really big issues in your life. We're not going to start off with the big guys. We'll start off with the small ones, right? Remember, start small and work big. So what would be the makeup of a resourceful belief? Well, the desire should be strong. And as mentioned earlier in the earliest parts of this presentation, of this session, is that the belief should be a fairly general, strong desire. What would be a good one? Helping other people. That's one a lot of people have, is a desire. I want to help people. But the stronger that desire, the more beliefs that you will develop. Okay, so you develop the belief about helping others. So what would be a resourceful belief? Well, you might believe that donating money and time and resources to organizations that help others is a belief. You might strongly believe that and go out and do that. You might believe that when walking around the street that you will interact with anyone that appears to be in need and assess whether or not there's any way that you can help them. Again, a really resourceful belief will go from the general down to the specific, from the macro down to the micro. Macro would be a general belief, working down to a whole series of beliefs, how to satisfy that desire. And then the micro would be specific things. And one of the things that I keep mentioning is that if you have a desire, you develop beliefs how to satisfy desire, you have to accept all the outcomes from that and move on. Okay, so let's look at this, what I call the subconscious belief system. So the way it works is it's kind of like a core where you have a desire, and then off of that desire, you get beliefs are spun off to achieve or to meet that desire. So this is why I say the more general your desire, the more beliefs that you will develop that will match. Okay, so it's kind of like increasing your odds for success. So you develop a core belief that's general enough so that you can have a huge array of beliefs about how to satisfy it. We will talk more about that, but this is basically the way it works. So you have a belief such as saying wanting to be in a relationship. That's a nice general statement. You're not saying I want to be in a relationship with this particular person, or I want to be in a relationship in this particular manner, in this particular location, and by this. No, you're not doing any of that. You're just saying, I want a relationship. I want to be in a relationship. So out of that, your subconscious would automatically start generating beliefs about how you should look at the way you dress and your appearance. Maybe dress and to match the people you want in your life. And then maybe you need to meet with key people. Maybe there are people that you know that can introduce you to others. And then you might have a belief that says, well, I need to watch more Netflix movies. Well, maybe not all these beliefs are more efficient. Of these three, which one do you think would be the most efficient or the most likely to produce results? Changing your dress, the way you dress and your appearance, meeting with people who know lots of people and can maybe set you up on a date, a blind date, or watching more Netflix movies. Well, I know what I think is number 1, 2, and 3, but I'd be interested to hear what you think. So here's exercise 6. Expand your belief system. So we're going to take a spin off of what we did in the last exercise and developing belief. We're going to pick a desire, and then what I'd like you to do is make at least 6 or 7, maybe 10 possible ways that you could do things to meet that desire. So these ways are, of course, I believe that if I do this, I will satisfy this desire. I believe if I do this, this will. So a nice general desire, and come up with as many beliefs about ways of satisfying it. Then, what I'd like you to do is rank these beliefs in order of the ones that you feel are the most likely, the most resourceful, down to the least resourceful. Take some time with it, have fun with it, and, think of it as each of these beliefs as being potential frames. Okay, so we'll get into this, we'll talk about it more, but you make it one simple desire, nice and general, and then come up with a whole bunch of ways. Now, each of these ways become beliefs, and each belief you can make into a frame, right? A power frame. So you could have eventually, once you rank them and find the most resourceful beliefs, then you could say, well, I'm going to take the top 3 beliefs and I'm going to make a frame, a power frame of them. And several times during the day, I will be able to recall these frames, to activate them, to stimulate your subconscious in matching your desire. Okay, so I think that sounds pretty straightforward. We will discuss exercise 5 in the session, and if possible, I will make a separate little video on this exercise. I think this is one I think is really could show some beneficial results for you. Okay, thank you, and contact me if you have any questions. Hello, and welcome to bonus topic 5. And as I mentioned in my previous bonus topic videos, these little videos are to cover areas that may not get picked up in the main course material, and also to sort of give you a little peek ahead at some of the things we will be doing. Today we're going to look at something that I call do-it-yourself wellness. And this is intended for those who are basically, in good shape. If you are in any kind of crisis, of course, you seek the appropriate wellness consultant. But the key here, and this is an Eastern approach, is to stay healthy. Once you get yourself centered, once you get yourself working well, how do you keep yourself in wellness and health? This isn't necessarily about repairing any damage. That you will go to a professional consultant for that. This is more about how you deal with your day-to-day health and maintaining it yourself. I'm going to hit on some topics. I'm going to talk about the 3-body approach, and this is a fairly recognized approach that we look at a human being as being made up of 3 components: a physical body, an energetic body, and a spirit body that integrate as one. And then we'll end by looking at how meditation is a key part in maintaining this synchronicity between all 3 of these bodies. I'll mention it at this point that, yeah, there are theories going through where there's other bodies, but for this particular approach, I think 3 bodies is enough of a division, although it's perfectly all right if you want to have 4, 5, or more. Okay, the 3-body approach comes mainly out of the East, in which the bodies are perceived, and I've heard this one, and it isn't necessarily the way it has to be, that the spirit body motivates the energy, and the energy body feeds the physical body. That life came from spirit, generated the energy to build the physical body. Some people think these 3 bodies are related to frequencies, that the faster you vibrate, the more you approach the spirit body, and the slower you vibrate, the more dense you become, the more you approach the physical body. However you want to approach it and define it for yourself, it's pretty clear that we have a physical body. And the primary components of the physical body is controlled by our master glands, our endocrine system. And the primary glands are shown here on the slide, that we have this huge gland in our head called a brain, and it basically synchronizes and coordinates all of our physical activities. And just under the brain are some very important glands, the pituitary gland, the hypothalamus. And these key glands, I left out the pineal gland, yes. These key glands in our skull are the ones that maintain the body's homeostasis, that keeps us centered and warms us up when we are cold, cools us down when we are cold, speeds up our heart when we need more circulation, slows it down. So these are the real synchron controller ones. And then you come to the thyroid, which is another master gland. The thyroid looks after many, many things, but the primary thing is growth and metabolism. And the thymus is related to the heart. And then you come to a series of really key glands, the adrenal glands, the liver, and the kidneys. And these glands really are our energy glands, and they provide and process all the food and water we drink and turn it into usable energy and control that. And then finally, in the bottom, we have our sexual glands. Or for women, you have the ovaries, and for the men, you have the testes. Life is created from this. Now, I sometimes think of our physical body as being the most elaborate and sophisticated thing that you can possibly imagine. The body is a self-regulating, self-healing, self-reproducing, self-maintaining and coordinating, and self-aware system. So the body is aware of itself. If you get a cut, you don't have to do anything other than maybe just clean it, and it will form a scab on its own and heal. The body has the capability of replacing every cell in our body, and there are trillions of cells. Now, there's different rates of repair, but I believe it's that within a few months we replace every cell in our body, and this cell replacement is all done automatically. So the physical body, all it needs really is the proper environment. And some people call that the terrain theory, where if you provide the proper terrain, the proper territory, the proper scenario, the body will self-repair and maintain. The other body that we have is our energy body. And this again comes from mainly the East. And these centers you see on here are energy centers. The Bahu and the Yin Tang are all centers. Now, this is out of a methodology called acupuncture, but there are other systems that look at the energy of the body. Now, this cannot be denied, and one of the things that is commonly known is that when you first go into emergency for any reason, the first thing they do is they measure your energy levels. And if you are seriously ill, they may put some sensors on your skin that will monitor the electricity flow in your body. And this energy in the body is similar to electricity, appears to be electricity, but here's the thing. This energy is conscious and interacts with the physical body instantaneously. And the third body, of course, is our spirit body. And it's not something that you can see. You can see and touch and feel the physical body. You can measure the energy body in terms of its electrical power. But the spirit body is more elusive. But you sure can notice when it's not there. When someone is full of the spirit, you can see it and you can feel it. The spirit body in some cultures is considered the most important body. That if you lose your spirit, then all your energy leaves and you die. Now, the thing I want to point out here is that all three bodies are sort of interactive and they support each other. They're a holistic system. So if you damage by any way the physical body, you will damage the energy and spirit body. If you damage the spirit body, you in some way will weaken or damage the physical and the energetic body. They're all integrated. But similarly, you can strengthen the physical body, and that will strengthen your energy and strengthen your spirit. So you can do things on your spirit body. And one thing you can do to strengthen your spirit and energy and physical bodies is a meditation-based practice. Now, this is different than a religion. A religion has a different goal, but it is related. But this is a non-religious. This is just centering the three bodies. And at some point in the future, we will look at something I've been working on called a three-body meditation. But basically, when you practice your meditation, you are allowing things to remain and come back to their natural state. If you ever heard of the phrase, meditation is practicing doing nothing, the art of doing nothing. So when you sit and meditate, you're not really supposed to be doing anything in particular. This gives your physical body, your energetic body, and your spirit body full reign, and they will automatically come back to center. Your three bodies will automatically recenter and rejuvenate if you allow them. So by quieting the mind, but you, your ego, yourself, who you think you are, if you quiet that, if you stay still, all three bodies will come and center and begin to heal. There's nothing you have to do. In fact, you have to stop doing. So, practice your meditation by sitting quietly and practicing your detachment exercise. And stay neutral, stay in the neutral state. Okay, well, that is pretty much it for this little bonus talk. It's really a positive mental attitude talk, and it's really to encourage you to practice your meditation many times daily. Now, sometimes when I have nothing else to do, I allow myself to go into a meditative state whenever I can. Well, that's it for today, and we'll see you in the next presentation. You enjoyed this evening's material. Please attend our live stream this Sunday at 3 p.m. Eastern, and we'll do a preview for the upcoming session and also have an opportunity to do some Q&A, some question and answers. So have a great evening, and again, thank you so much for attending this session. Good night.